Hello guys, good afternoon. So let's talk about the topic elasticity dito po sa ating programang Master of Economics. Okay? Umpisahan po natin ang ating topic regarding elasticity. So elasticity po and its application. Okay? Ang una po nating uh, tanong dito is kung ano po ba yung sinasabi nating elasticity o what is elasticity. So, pag pinag-uusapan po natin yung elasticity, ay it pertains to a measure of a variable's sensitivity to a change in another variable. So, this is most commonly, this sensitivity is the change in quantity demanded relative to changes in other factors such as price. Ang ibig sabihin talaga po ng elasticity is we are looking at the sensitivity of the consumer's reaction regarding po sa change in the price pag nagpabago-bago yung presyo. Dito po natin tinitignan kung ano yung reaksyon ng ating mga consumer sa pagbabago ng presyo ng produkto o serbisyo. So, in business po and economics, yung price elasticity, it refers to the degree to which the individuals or consumers, producers, so change their demand or the amount supplied in response to price or income changes. Yun nga po yung sinabi ko kanina, ano po ba yung magiging reaction, no, ng mga consumers regarding sa pagbabago ng presyo ng mga bilihin. It is predominantly used po to assess the change in consumer demand as a result of a change in a good or service price. Okay? So, yan po yung natawag nating elasticity. So, ang pinaka keyword dito ay yung sinasabi natin sensitivity to the price of the consumers. So, their consumer behavior depends upon the price, no, of how we assess their sensitivity which regards to the change in the price. So, yan po yung sinasabi natin dyan sa elasticity na yan. Ngayon, in terms of talking with the elasticity, what are the key takeaways? Now, elasticity is an economic measure of how sensitive an economic factor is to another po. For example, changes in the supply or demand to the change in price or changes in demand to changes in income. Ulitin po natin yung example dito. Changes in supply or demand to the change in price. Alright? So, another thing is changes in to the change in income. Okay, so yan po yung ating first key takeaway, mga keyword, no, regarding elasticity. Now, if demand for a good or service is relatively static, even when the price changes, demand is said to be inelastic, and its coefficient of elasticity is less than 1.0. Pag pinag-uusapan po natin yung inelasticity or an inelastic price, no, or prices, inelastic prices refers to goods which pertains po sa basic necessities, no, like food, no, yung mga pagkain. Examples of dito naman po sa elastic, no? Elastic goods include naman clothing or electronics. While inelastic goods are items like, yan na nga po, sinabi ko kanina, food and prescription drugs. Pag sinabi po nating elastic goods, kasama dito ang mga produktong clothing o electronics. Samantalang pag inelastic, ito ay patungkol sa mga pagkain, o kaya naman ay mga medicinal na mga drug, mga gamot. Okay? So next, all right. Let's look at the next picture here. All right. This one. So here, how does elasticity works, no? Paano po ba nagkakaroon ng elasticity? So, when the value of elasticity is greater than 1.0, kung 1.0 po ito, no, it suggests that the demand for the good or service is more than proportionally affected. So, ibig sabihin, than 1, no? In terms of the computation po regarding elasticity. Ibig sabihin, mataas yung sensitivity. Ibig sabihin, nagre-react yung mga consumer once na mayroong pagbabago ng presyo sa isang produkto o serbisyo. A value that is less than 1.0 naman suggests that the demand is relatively insensitive to price or inelastic. So, ibig sabihin naman po, pag inelastic, no, price, yung mga consumer ay hindi masyado itong pinapansin, no? Hindi siya masyadong pinapansin, uh, almost to nothing, alright? If we're talking about inelastic, kasi nga they need it eh. Kailangan nila yung uh, uh, item na yon. Especially like the food, the drugs, no? As an example po dun sa ating inelastic price, right? But dito sa elastic price na yung nakita nyo kanina example natin doon, no? Magiging ng pagbabago ng presyo kasi nga kumbaga ito ay tinatawag nating wants na, no? Wants, no? So pag inelastic, we can refer to it as needs, while elastic pertains to the wants, no? Now inelastic means that when the price goes up, the consumer's buying habits stay about the same. And when the price goes down, consumers' buying habits also remain unchanged. So, yan po ang inelastic na sinasabi natin. So, always remember po. Right? So, after that, let's go to another, okay, data. If the elasticity naman po is equals to 0, then it is said to be perfectly inelastic, no? Meaning its demand will remain unchanged at any price. There are probably no real-world example of perfectly inelastic, no, inelastic goods. If there were, that means producers and suppliers would be able to charge whatever they felt like, and the consumers would still need to buy them. So the only thing close to a perfectly inelastic good would be air and water, which no one controls. Actually, itong perfectly inelastic, no, na price, ang pinaka-example ng product niyan, guys, ay yung mga medical equipment, no? Medical equipment, medical drugs under the perfectly inelastic price. All right? Kasi ang mga item na to is what we call as do or die, no, item. Kasi nga kung hindi, ika kamukha ng mga medical supply equipment, no? So that's an example of a perfectly inelastic price. Kamukha rin ng kamukha ng mga gamot sa ngayon, no? Yung mga vaccines like the Sinovac, ano pa ba yan? Pfizer, no? Yan ay mga perfectly inelastic. Alright? So elasticity is an economic concept which is used to measure the change in the aggregate quantity demanded of a good or service in relation to price movements of that good or service. Alright? So economic concept to mga katoto, no? Na we are measuring the change, no? In the aggregate quantity demanded of a good service or service in relation to price movements of that good or service. Right? So we are checking here the sensitivity of the consumers regarding the price. If we're talking about elasticity, so a product is considered to be elastic if the quantity demand of the product changes more than proportionally when its price increases or decreases, right? Conversely, a product is considered to be inelastic po, no? A product is considered to be of what we call as inelastic demand, no? We consider it as inelastic demand of the product changes very little when its price fluctuates, right? So that's what we meant by that inelastic demand po, no? All right. Okay. So to continue, let's have an example. Example po nito yung insulin. Insulin is a product that is highly inelastic. For people po na may diabetes na kailangan ng insulin, yung demand po ay napakalaki. That price po increases very little effect on the quantity demanded. Kaya pag gamot na insulin, wala pong reaction of most of those who need lower price and are already making purchase are highly elastic products. So spa, no, example nito, spa days are highly elastic in that they aren't a necessary good. Yun nga po yung sinasabi ko kanina, it pertains to a want. And an increase in the price of trips to the spa will lead to a greater proportion decline in the demand for such services. So malaki ang epekto ng pagtaas ng presyo sa mga spa. Conversely, a decrease in the price will lead to a greater than proportional increase in demand for spa treatments. Alright, so tataas naman po pag bumaba naman ang presyo para sa spa treatment, tataas ang demand. Alright? Okay. So, the next thing is, let's talk about types of elasticity. Elasticity of demand. So, the quantity demanded of a good or service depends on multiple factors po, such as price, income, and preference. Whenever there is a change in these variables demanded of the good or service. Right? So, price elasticity of demand is an economic measure of the sensitivity of demand relative to a change in price. Yan. The measure of the change in the quantity demanded due to the change in the price of a good or service is known as price elasticity of demand. Okay, so yan po yung natawag nating price elasticity of demand. Okay? Now, what is an income elasticity? Income elasticity of demand refers to the sensitivity of the quantity demanded for a certain good to a change real income of consumers who buy this good, keeping all other things constant. So the formula for calculating income elasticity of demand is the percent change in quantity demanded divided by the percent change in income. With income elasticity of demand, you can tell if a particular good represents a necessity or a luxury. Right. So, yan po yung gustong ipakita sa atin ng income elasticity. Alright? Now, uh, let's talk about cross elasticity. Right? So, when we talk about cross elasticity, no, the cross elasticity of demand is an economic concept that measures the responsiveness and the quantity demanded of one good when the price for another good changes. Right? It is also called as the cross price elasticity of demand. This measurement is calculated by taking the percentage change in the quantity demanded of one good and dividing it by the percentage change in the price of the other good. So, when we talk about cross elasticity of the demand, it pertains to what we call as substitutes, no? Items, products which pertains to what we call as the substitute, no? Or alternative products, no? If the other item is uh, increasing its price, the consumer can resort to the other item or product. Now, the price elasticity of supply measures the responsiveness to the supply of a good or service after a change in its market price. So now, dito naman po mga katoto, ang pinag-uusapan naman natin dito ay yung sa supply. Kanina, buyers in terms of demand. Now, elasticity naman tayo in terms of the sellers. Now, dito, sinasabi dito na according to basic economic theory, the supply of a good will increase when its price rises, no? Conversely, the supply of a good will decrease when its price decreases. So, ito nga yung sinasabi ko kanina, no? Sa aking ibang mga video na nagawa, yung the law of supply and demand, no? Factors affecting demand elasticity, no? Here, there are three main factors that influence a goods price elasticity of demand. So, dito na nga, yung nasabi natin, yung kasi nakabase yung supply, mga katoto, doon sa consumer demand, no? So, availability of substitute dito. In general, the more good substitutes there are, the more elastic the demand will be. For example, if the price of a cup of coffee went up by 5, no, cents, the consumers might replace their morning caffeine fix with a cup of strong tea, right? So there's a strong reaction, no, regarding to the change in price. So this means that the coffee is an elastic good because a small increase in price will cause uh, increasing the reaction of the consumers towards the price. So dito magiging elastic siya kasi nga konting amount lang like 25 centavos, tumaas yung reaction ng mga tao, no? Nagtaas yung reaction. So it is considered to be as an elastic, no? At this point, no? Okay. So let's go to the other data. Let me show you the other data here. Okay. Alright, so dito sinabi ko nga kanina guys, because of a small increase in price, will cause a large decrease in demand as consumers start buying more tea kaysa coffee. However, if the price of the caffeine itself were to go up, we would probably see little change in the consumption of coffee or tea because there may be few good substitutes for caffeine, no? So, karamihan in this case, might not willingly give up their more of caffeine no matter what the price. So we would say therefore that caffeine is an inelastic product, while a specific product within an industry can be elastic due to the availability of substitutes. Yan. So an entire industry itself tends to be inelastic, right? Usually, unique goods such as diamonds are inelastic because they have few, if any, substitutes. Alright, so pag diamond naman to, we're talking about diamond, they are considered to be inelastic because they have few, if any, substitutes. Alright? Okay? Now here, to continue, let's talk about necessity. Necessity, as we saw above, no? Doon sa ating mga discussion, if something is needed for survival or comfort, people will continue to pay higher prices for it. For example, people needs to get to work or drive for a number of reasons. Therefore, even if the price of gas doubles or even triples, at saka tatandaan po natin, ano guys, it depends upon the culture nitong mga tinatawag nating elasticity. It depends upon the culture. Kung anong bansa siya, nagdedepende rin na tawag nating price elasticity. Kasi yung mga item, it depends upon the culture din. Time, the third influential factor is time. If the price of cigarettes goes up to $2 per pack, no? A smoker with very few available substitutes will most likely continue buying their daily cigarettes. This means that tobacco is inelastic. If that will be the case, no? Kasi nga wala na siyang substitute, it will become inelastic because the change in price will not have a significant influence on the quantity demanded. And however, if that smoker finds that they cannot afford to spend the extra $2 per day and begins to kick the habit over a period of time, the price of cigarettes for that consumer becomes elastic in the long run. Okay, so yun ang mangyayari po, no? If substitutes, no? If there will be a substitute, that product, kamukha nga po sa ating mga na-discuss, no? Itong sa video na ito, if there are merely what we call as substitute, therefore it will become inelastic. But if there are no substitute, no, that will be elastic. Alright? So the importance of price elasticity in business. So understanding whether or not the goods or services of a business are elastic is integral to the success of the company. Correct. Dapat maintindihan, no, ng bawat isa na napakahalaga nung kaalaman sa sinatawag nating price elasticity ng bawat item. No? Companies with high elasticity ultimately compete with other businesses on price and are required to have a high volume sales transactions to remain solvent. So firms that are inelastic naman, on the other hand, have goods and services that are must-haves and enjoy the luxury of setting higher prices. So beyond prices, the elasticity of a good or service directly affects the customer retention rates of a company. Businesses often strive to sell goods or services that have inelastic demand. Doing so means that customers will remain loyal and continue to purchase the good or service even in the face of a price increase. So that's the significance of price elasticity in a certain business, right? Okay. Examples. So there are a number of real-world examples of elasticity we interact with on a daily basis. One interesting modern-day example of the price elasticity of demand many people take part in, even if they don't realize it, is the case of Uber's surge pricing, no? Uber. No, ito po yung mga Uber. As you might know, Uber uses a surge pricing algorithm during times when there is an above average amount of users requesting rides in the same geographic area. So the company applies a price multiplier which allows Uber to equilibrate supply and demand in real time. The COVID-19 pandemic has also shown a spotlight on the price elasticity of demand through its impact on a number of industries. Example nito, yung number of outbreaks of coronavirus in meat processing facilities across the US. 16%. 16%, no? Uh, in May 2020, this is the largest increase on record since 1993. Another extraordinary example of COVID-19's impact on elasticity arose in the oil industry. Although oil po is generally very inelastic, correct, meaning demand has a little impact on the price per barrel because of a historic drop in global demand for oil during March and April, along with increased supply and a shortage of storage space on April 20, 2020. Crude petroleum actually traded at a negative price in the. So in response po to this dramatic drop in demand po, OPEC members elected to cut production by 9.7 million barrels per day through the end of June, the largest production cut ever. All right, because of that, what we call as the problem, no? All right, and now let's look at the elasticity facts. No? What is meant by elasticity in economics? So elasticity refers to the measure of the responsiveness of quantity demanded or quantity supplied to one of its determinants. What is the elasticity of demand formula naman? So the elasticity of demand can be calculated by dividing the percentage change, no, in the quantity demanded of a good or service by the percentage change in price. Now, what are the four types of elasticity? Yung apat po na types ng elasticity ay demand elasticity, income elasticity, cross elasticity, product changes based on a given change in price. Okay? And the bottom line, when they are deciding if or when to make a purchase. Alright. So, that is what we meant by. Okay, so yun po yung ating summary lang po ng topic natin about elasticity. So dito, pinaliwanag dito yung elasticity and inelasticity of demand, no? As well as in some portion of the concept of supply. Pero lalabas pa po tayo ng video to further study what is elasticity. Kung makikita nyo rito, yung diamond, yung diamante, in this topic, it was treated as an inelastic, no? Inelastic with an inelastic demand. Kasi sa ibang bansa, no, there are no substitutes, no, in terms of what we call as if the diamond we are referring to, kaya tinawag nilang inelastic. Kasi pag mayroong mga substitute, doon papasok yung elasticity ng price. Alright? Pag may substitute sa product na yun, yung product na yun ay nagmahal, at tapos mayroon pang pantapat na product doon na substitute, at doon yung consumer pupunta sa substitute, no, sa alternative. So magiging elastic siya, right? Magiging elastic siya. Pero pag wala talaga siyang kapalit, mamalit, it is considered to be as inelastic. Tumaas man ang presyo o bumaba, ganun pa rin ang demand, right? So So, it's inelastic kasi walang substitute. Alright? So, we will further explain elasticity for our next video. So, please subscribe to my channel. Watch, like, comment, and share. Then ring the notification bell to give you updates to my upcoming videos. So, God bless us all, and God bless the Philippines. Bye-bye.